Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Yeah, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat with me, Kev Aren, and Aaron Jew. Now, today, what we're going to be doing is addressing the elephant in the room: racism in 2020 in the UK. Now, those people who say it's not here are either in denial or maybe even part of the problem. Now, me, I've only had certain points of racism thrown at me, nothing as you lads have, but I'm married to a mixed race woman. Me and Quinton and his twin brother Sean have grown up over the last 30 years together. Pete, been best mates since like almost 25 years. And just because I haven't had racism doesn't mean it hasn't affected me in life. Every time that I walk into a pub with my wife and the football's on, my stomach turns over. When I'm at a boxing show, and all it takes that one knobhead to say something, and it's horrible. And the saddest thing of all is we're going to find a cure to this coronavirus before we find a cure to racism. And one has just jumped up overnight and affected the whole world, where one has been in our lives and affecting people's hearts for generations. So, lads, thank you, Josh, Quinton and Pete, for coming on. Would anyone like to start off the show? Quint, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'd like to start off, I suppose. Well, I will start off. Good introduction, by the way, Kev. That was a good way of putting it. We probably will find, well, most likely we'll find a cure for the corona before we find a cure for racism, because obviously it's taken a long time to establish the racist societies and ideals that we live by. So it's going to take a long time to unestablish them as well, regardless of how long we've already been fighting for them. It's still going to take a long time. You know what I mean? Because that's the system that you live in. So to change a system, that's defranchising one type of people, or to change a system that's not valuing the lives of one type of people. You need everyone to agree, and that's part of the problem, because everyone doesn't agree, and that's why it's still around today.
Pete, anything you want to say on that, bruv?
Well, I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? Like, I always see it as like, you're never really going to be able to abolish something that is an observation as well. So even though you've got like deep-seated racism and you've got problems with society and things that happen because of the slave trade and all that sort of thing, obviously that's going to go back hundreds and hundreds of years. But at the same time, you can visually see that a person is different. So you're never going to really be able to abolish the animalistic reaction of like, oh, say if someone's a bastard and they're fat, as I've told you this about before, chances are you're going to call them a fat bastard. So, it's one of them. I've noticed more. Some people aren't necessarily racist, but then they can be pushed into a moment of anger when they'll just be, oh, you're black bastard or something, and then all of a sudden it's gone over into that territory of like, it is not, once an observation, they're trying to hurt you and they know the easiest way to do it. So I think it'd be kind of delusional to say, oh yeah, we can just abolish something that is, just like a visual like reaction to the way someone, or we're way to hurting someone, or just the same way I look to black or mixed race people for like brotherhood, or or things like that along that line. So I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? We can work even better, but not to abolish it.
Okay,
Josh, yeah, I'll jump in. First of all, thank you so much, boys, for having me on this show. I really like the Black Country Boys, and it's an honour to be here. Quinton and Pete, I think you made some really interesting points. I think it's going to be really difficult to change something quickly that's been part of society for such a long time. However, I do think that things are getting better. If so, let's say we look 50, 60 years ago in Belgium, there were human zoos where they were displaying black people for the entertainment of white people in cages. And now those things are completely unacceptable. You would have to dig far and wide to find people who found that kind of behavior acceptable. So whilst things aren't great, they are significantly better than they have been. And 60 years isn't a long period of time for things to change. So it is horrendous that it's still around, and it is very much a real problem. I've just posted a video on my own Facebook about the experiences I've had with racism, just a small few of them, but they're not, but they are improving. So I would like to say that. In terms of
On
Peter,
that-
go on.
Sorry, no, you carry on. Sorry.
In terms of Pete, I 100% agree. I think it's human nature that you look to those who are like you for to be your tribe of people. I think it is something that is in human nature to look for community and social gathering. And fundamentally, prejudice is something that is there as a way of protecting humans. You look at those who are different as potential threats to your life, or as when we were hunter-gatherers, to your food sources and to your women to reproduce. So it is difficult. It is going to be difficult to change what is almost human nature. And often I agree as well that just sometimes it is a nasty word reaction. It's not a fundamental belief of people. There's people that I know love me for a fact that have called me a black bastard in the past. And it's because we've disagreed and they've just been in such a state of rage. It's the first thing they've seen. I've stubbed my toe on the door and I've called my door a prick. I don't actually think the door is a prick. I've just been in a horrible state at that time.
But do you think, lads, talking about this, and I'm just asking the question, there's a difference between, let's call it, and this is only a word, low-level racism, as in a throwaway word, which isn't acceptable,
No.
and institutionalized racism, where you might not be able to get a job or an opportunity because of your colour?
That's a great point, Kev. And as I was listening, I'm agreeing to both your points, but I was thinking that as well, because like you touched on, Pete, and like you touched on as well, it's those things, I get what you're saying, like in the spur of the moment, someone will say, oh, you black bastard or something like that. And that's less effective to me than real racism anyway, because like I say, real racism, I don't really associate your black bastard or a racial slur with someone that's racist. That's someone that hasn't got anything better in their mind to say. So it's their first reaction to say something because they're not smart enough to think of something better to say. So I don't really automatically think, oh, you're racist because you said a racial slur. I know people that's never said a racial slur that I'm sure is 100% racist because of their actions. And many people that say racial slurs, that their actions show that they're actually not racist. So words are just words. And, you know, one of the oldest things I learned, because, you know, when I came to England when I was 4. So I started nursery here, then started school. And so obviously that was my first experience of racism because I only came here at that age. If I came here a bit younger, I would have experienced it maybe a bit younger. But I came home and my mum told me and my brother, sticks and stones might break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And even though it's an old saying, I kind of stick by it. Names, words are just words, but racism's more than just words in my eyes. You know what I mean? It's actions. It's the systematics, you know, of like on a form. I've been practicing this on most forms for the last 3 or 4 years, just out of curiosity to see what happens. Any form that has my ethnicity, I tick white. When I was in America, I'd say white American. When I'm in England, I'd say white British, because if I can see myself as a female, why can't I see myself? If I can see myself as a female and you have to accept it, why can't I view myself as a white man and you accept that as well? And I notice sometimes I get the treatment a bit quicker, or you notice differences. So racism is not just about words in my eyes; it's the whole system.
Aren, can I get you to chime in on this? Because you were saying something to me the other day about, like, on a video game, the different colours.
Yeah. So just in that analogy, it's I was speaking to Josh just before we jumped on here. Obviously, my experience is slightly different to your guys, but I've always had racism consistently thrown at me. and I got numb to it. Just like, yeah, it is the, the P word, recently the terrorist word. There's a point I was like, should I shave my beard off? I don't want to be considered a terrorist. I'm not a religious person, but I wear my bangle just so I can still at least differentiate myself and maybe be the better of the terrorist gang, for example. So I've always struggled with that. But the video analogy game, and it's kind of like a lesson, and something that I realized early in life is that we can play this game of life, which is what it is, and we can do very well. I've got a degree. I've studied a master's. I've worked my bloody ass off, as probably all of you guys have as well. But there's only a certain level you can really move up. And I've worked in corporate, and you get to a point where it's like you've got a white individual and then you've got a colored person. You're never going to win that race. And I accepted that, and you accept it and you just roll with the punches, because you're like, I can still play this game. I can still get to level fucking 99 and have a sick time, but that last level I'll never get. And I accepted it. And I was just speaking to Josh just before this. I was saying, it hurts me when I see other people going through it. Like, I don't know Quinton and Pete like I know Josh, but I can feel the pain of the shit that's going on in the world. And I don't like that. It's like when my brother got denied a scholarship to go to America to play football. The local MP told us if he was white, everything's fine. He did all the paperwork, everything signed off. This is a 16-year-old kid who's been working his ass off. I didn't let him drink. I didn't let him do anything. He's about to, have his dream as a footballer, and it's taken away. So, I've always lived with it. But it's like something needs to change. But I think all you guys just made like some amazing points that actually there's certain things I used to believe that ain't right. So like the slurs, I used to think if you say like a slur, for example, i.e. you black this or you packy this, for example, then you're an instant racist. But actually, when I think about it, Josh, you made a good point that when you bang the table, and you say prick or fuck, or when you have an argument with your missus, you say stuff that's not actually the truth. If my missus believed everything that come out my mouth when I'm angry, fucking I wouldn't be married. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect. So thanks to you guys, I've actually learned a little bit there in myself. But in my eyes, the game's fixed, and I say that from a systemic place. It's fixed. How we change that? I listened to David Goggins today, and he spoke about his abuse as a half black man, and he says the way you change it is by getting the people at the top, which generally speaking are white people, to make a change. So I don't have the answer. I don't have that power. But fucking hell, mate. I hope we get some sort of systematic change. But yeah, it's getting better. But it should never be a thing. Like we should never. 5 of us should be talking about something completely different. And I don't know. It's just upsetting, mate.
Pete, have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of them that they have to be. I think the difference between the two, like you're saying, that there's that kind of deep-seated racism that's like born within the hierarchy, which is going to be because it was a racist system because it was made by racists, and it's a sexist system because it was made by sexists. You know what I mean? Back in those days, it was the norm to be racist or sexist. There's probably when they wrote these rules that they've adapted upon over the years. It was they would have to consider that black people couldn't get the same jobs and they couldn't vote, and you know what I mean. So it's one of them. I don't think that necessarily the system is broken. I think people always point fingers at the system, but one, we've done our utmost to make sure that no other system can be tried out, like communism, for example. Every time it's been tried, it's been like the Cuban Missile Crisis, like all of a sudden, and there's always been people trying to throw a spanner in the works and things like that. But essentially, if you look at the core values of it, if we stop the value in one job over another, and the bin man earned as much as the doctor, and the people just got the reward out of the actual job itself rather than the money and the material value, then would it be such a bad thing? I'm not saying that I'm a communist or that any of this would work.
I don't think that's what anyone's ever asked for, and I don't think that's the answer anyway. That we're one that be equal that way. When I say equal, the equal comes with the word opportunity as well. It's not about communist equal. Everyone's going to make the same. Everyone be man and a doctor. We're asking for fairness. In fact, black people never fought for equal rights. They fought for civil rights, which we're still fighting for today.
No, I'm just using it as an example. I'm not saying that communism is the way to.
I know that. I'm just saying
stop the oppression of black people. I'm just saying that communism hasn't really had a fair go at it. I'm saying that capitalism, it doesn't work. Yes, there's no coincidence that the people that look after the money actually, they earn the most money. It's no coincidence that the people that making the rules and making the systems all go through the same schools. They all wear the same clothes. It doesn't matter whether you're voting for a guy that's got a red or a blue tie. That's just all there just to make Joe Average think that vote actually matters.
You mentioned this there. Part of that is part of the problem that we face today, because you see what you said. The people in control of the money. It's all about money and classes and systems. You said that the system isn't necessarily broke. It's a wrong system, but people don't want to. But people don't want to let go of it, or there shouldn't be a disagreement. We should be equal, having equal opportunities. But the point I'm going to make is the reason that police officers in America feel it's so easy to kill black people the way they did, the way that guy did the other day, with a knee on his neck and his hand in his pocket, looking around in no danger, looking at the public watching him, is because black people hold no economic value. And because they hold no economic value, there's never going to be no consequence when someone takes their life, whether it's a police officer or a neighborhood watch guy in that country at the moment. Here we got different, scales of injustice, but it's not to that level, but still is what all I was pointing to. Our lack of economical place in a system makes us disposable. We all spend the same money, but we're spending our money in different communities, and we don't spend money on our own to build our own economic security, which they did years ago when it got bombed. But that idea is kind of, maybe black people have been scared to try and do that again. I don't know.
The point I just wanted to make was the fact that I don't think necessarily the system's broke. I just think that we're broke. We are really inherently quite bad. We're quite selfish.
We're broke to uphold a system like that.
We have a tribal mentality where we're supposed to be in small groups, and then as soon as you bring in mass scales and people are exposed to mass amounts of information and things like that, it messes you up. And I just I don't think necessarily there would be a system that you could put in place that would keep everyone happy and keep everyone. I think we'd always descend into, some sort of hatred or some sort of.
Well, the people in the system advantage might miss it, but others wouldn't, would they?
Josh, do you want to just jump in? Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
I can see you waving.
I found that conversation between you two incredibly interesting, and I think, Pete, you were touching on what they call in academics the equality of opportunity versus the equality of outcome. With communism being the equality of outcome, everybody receives the same. And what I believe Black Lives Matter is about is the protest and the discussion about whether the equality of opportunity is there. And in the UK, I feel like it is there in many places now that it wouldn't have been before. It might still not be, like Aren said, to go from stage 99 to 100. I don't know, because I've never been at stage 99. I don't have any personal experience to say whether that is the case or not. But there are certainly many cases now where I know that I can access as a black person that I wouldn't have been able to access before. And I agree with Quinton that black people are disposable within a system where the system is based around making money, because money is power in this system. And on that note, I'm not sure about whether reinvesting in black communities is entirely the answer, but I think black people lifting black people up and allowing them to upskill is, the more skills you have, the more economic value you bring, the less disposable you are. That police officer, like you said, would not have been able to kneel on the neck of a rich black man in America. He just wouldn't have been able to, because he brings too much value to that society. So that's where I think that's where the major change is going to come. And I know it's difficult because black people, particularly in America, have been redlined into areas where if you're in that area, you can't get a mortgage and you can't access higher education without seriously fighting for it. But other black people, we can give black people those skills that we have been able to acquire Sorry,
Yeah, I think that's where
Exactly.
definitely
Yeah.
needs to start. Like,
Yeah.
because
Really
I see it
trickle down.
So, sorry, lads, you're both talking at the same time. So, Quint, do you want to say something quick? Then let Pete have his say as well, please.
I'll just agree with him.
yeah.
Mm.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, within my profession, I see it all the time, and as well as the upscaling of skills, Black people will have to, educate themselves or want to get into those positions, because this is one thing that I've noticed, like just personally from my own personal experience, is that a lot of Black kids don't want to be within those professions and don't want to better themselves within a system that's always shouting them. So it's a kind of a it's a hard situation to be in when you're trying to turn around to a young Black kid and say, well, if you haven't got knowledge, no one wants to listen to you, because you've got nothing actually interesting to say. So if you can't do your research on both sides, how are you going to convince someone of something? And
This is where we show them
yeah,
what we're doing.
Yeah, and it becomes a point of where with some kids I've had to actually turn around and show them Black people that are very successful within the professions that they're interested in. Like they're like Wolves walking to my class now. Photography, can't be a photographer. Why? If there's more Black people within the photography profession, then chances are they're going to want to employ. If you're sitting there in an interview, they're not going to be discriminating you. And if you're the best person for the job, you're going to get it. If the Black person owns the company, then that will change. But when you're in a majority, when you're in a minority, when you're the minority in the country, it's a bit one of those, isn't it? Is that really ever going to change over here?
Do you think it will come, as Josh said at the start, like within the last 60 years? Do we all hope because of my wife's mixed race, and I know with people, I'm trying to get my words right, by people falling in love and having children, do we hope racism won't die out? But when some arsehole says something in the pub, when we stop standing for it, instead of just going, well, that's just Aren, he's just a racist. When we start saying, look, Darren, that isn't correct.
100%. Like I was saying to you the other day, remember I was saying about the paedophile situation. I'll just explain it. I'll put up stats about it. It shouldn't be offensive to anybody, but I think all of us in society agree that paedophilia is a wrong thing, yeah? So if I was to see your child being molested by a couple of paedophiles, and then when you come along, I'll let you know, firstly, I'm not a paedophile, but I just saw your child over there getting molested by a couple of paedophiles. What type of person are you going to think I am? And that's the same thing towards racism, meaning it's great that there's so many people lately coming forward to clear themselves of racism, to say, oh, I'm not racist. I've got Black friends and family, or I've been around Black since I was young, blah, blah. Me and mine are all good. That's great. But outside of your close circles, what do you care about racism? What do you care to do about changing racism in a society? Because we need everyone to agree that it needs to change. And really, in this day and age, it shouldn't be something that we need everyone to agree with. It should be natural humanity to want it. Because the other way around, I wouldn't want to see anybody in a society disadvantaged more than my people, and then try and defend it or justify it or deny that it's happening. I'd feel good. I'd feel like let's stop this. Let's do something about it. Same way as a paedophile, I'm not going to watch him do pedophilia to a kid. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to say, whoa, and pull him up on it. You know what I mean? So if we got that, it's just we need to up the value of where people see racism in society, because people don't see it valuable, so they ignore it. Oh, it's just racism. Do you know what I mean? So maybe we should look at it a bit differently and get people to have a heart. Like when I said that on Facebook, I had a few people that I wouldn't expect for the pen to drop messaged me that the penny dropped. They never thought of it that way before, and now they look at it totally differently. They thought it is good that if you're not racist, but it's more than just not being racist if we're going to change it in a society.
Josh, what do you have to say about that, bruv?
I couldn't agree more that allowing people to understand. I don't want to use the term white people because it just sounds a bit wrong to say there's black and there's white people, because there's just people, and I know that because I'm half of both. But I do think that we need to listen to these people to get them to understand and put it in ways that they understand. Because at the moment, with what's going on with Black Lives Matter, we are bringing lots of awareness, but the passions are so high on both sides that everybody is clashing and nobody is listening to each other. And in terms of what are you going to do in the wider society, if everybody has the conversation within their close circles, then if everybody's doing it, that is everybody. It's just not me 10,000 miles away speaking to that person. It's me speaking to the person next door to me who I have more of an impact to. So I think that is a good thing, that you've affected two people, because those two people will affect two more people. And at the end of the day, this is about our kids and our grandkids. And those two more people, by the time it reaches our grandkids, it isn't going to change that much in our lifetime. But by the time it reaches them, it might be a lot better if those two people have all changed two more people. That's like 500 people near you that will have eventually changed and seen this situation differently than how it has been seen previously. Go on, sorry.
It's another interesting thing about this situation is that it's actually brought probably unexpected unity from the elite that kind of run the system that we live in. It's brought unexpected unity. So I just wanted to shout out all the good people that are not black that's taking an interest in the situation and fighting to change it as well, because not everyone's against it. Not everyone's for it, not everyone's against it, but much love and respect to everyone that is for it and do want to see a change. The people that are not black but still want to see something done about it.
100%.
Because I think what you said then, Josh, about caring, compassion, understanding, they're the only things we want to be contagious at the moment. And if we let it be contagious, maybe then we can have a change.
100%. But whilst we're arguing and whilst we're fighting, nothing is going to change, because people are just going to stay angry and stay not listening to other people. We need to find, as black people and white people that care about black people, we need to find a way to say, look, I understand you, I respect you, this is what we need. And we need to find a way to show it, don't tell it, because showing people makes a difference. Now, I don't just want to bang my own drum, but just before we went on this, I put a video up, and all I did was wrote down about 10 of the racist things that people had said to me, from teachers, police officers, and just random people in the street. And all I did was read those things off on a video. And the amount of people that that were on the All Lives Matter, not Black Lives Matter, that didn't understand that was still an issue that affected me, that cared about me, now understand and are now on the side of change. It's not a case of shouting in people's faces. It's a case of showing them in a gentle way that, look, your reality isn't as cozy as you thought it was. Because it's a painful thing to realize that these horrendous things go on around you.
Could I just 100%. Say something? So I think when you battle hate with hate, it never beats it. All it does, it breeds with it and makes babies. So you've got a next generation of hate. The only way we can battle hate is by listening and loving and trying to understand. So there will be awkward conversations. Me and Quinton talk, and Pete talk on the regular daily, and I'll tell them stuff. And some stuff, it does make me uncomfortable that someone I love so dearly is still having this on, and my wife. But we've got to listen, because if we don't listen, then we just push it into a cupboard and it never gets sorted.
I think one of the issues that you have as well is one of the most racist environments I can ever think of is football ground. And everyone would cheer for a black player. Everyone would cheer for a black player if he's banging goals in. He makes one mistake and then, monkey chants and all sorts of crap come out. So, we'll get to the point of where, the majority of the people in the football ground will turn around. The one or two people that have tried to invite, how you might be the person feeling uncomfortable, will they turn on them and then get to the point? Because, it's nice to think that this will happen. But at the same time, I think you always have to remember you have a lot of people that generally are quite passive. And that's not just in terms of racism. if they saw any sort of injustice, they might just, just sit back and not get too bothered by it, or just not want to get involved. Not everyone is confrontational, not everyone thing, and it's great. And like, a lot of the stuff that I've seen on like Facebook or Instagram and stuff like that from people that I know are passionate has been like very pro-black and has been very putting out there, but then there's still like a massive core of people that will just stay quiet because I think generally that is their nature. So, I'm not I'm not saying that like, I don't think it'll ever happen or it will change on a mass scale. I just think it is quite like, it's a bit of a fantasy to think, it will change to the point of where everyone's going to unite and we'll be in the point of like, you hear one monkey boo and then the whole crowd turns around and like sorts them out. But it's a work in progress, isn't it? I guess change society's opinion and then it'll grow from there.
It is.
Well, that's it. Opinion. I think. Remember in the mid 90s for a few years, people kind of suppressed being openly racist and everything seemed fine for a while. I think it will be like that again, as in, society will put, they'll put a filter on themselves for a short time till all this dies down. I think some people are still going to be outraged and want to, fight the opposite and say this or say that, because two things I like to remind people: pro-black doesn't mean anti-white, and Black Lives Matter doesn't mean white lives doesn't matter. It's like I posted a comedian talking about today. He said we start negotiations at Black Lives Matter. Can we say that? What's lower than matter? Black lives exist. Can we say that? You know what I mean? So we're always going to have both ends of the scale. But once we get most of society to agree that's unacceptable behavior, same as a paedophilia, then we can start to make a change. I'm not saying that people have to physically confront everyone that's racist, but race situations, make them known. Don't let them slide all the time. So if there's 4 or 5 people witnessing it and 4 or 5 people disagree, the situation won't slide, is what I'm saying. Like,
I feel that's a brilliant point.
We're at that stage yet already, though, aren't you, really? I mean, I wouldn't say that there's many, I don't know many openly racist people. And, I'd say we are at the stage where the great, like we are educated enough for the general public to agree that racism is wrong. But it's acting on it, isn't it? That's the issue.
Yeah. I think we need to make a very distinct difference between racism and stupidity. A lot of people don't know that the things that they do and say are racist. It's not.
Yeah, that's more stupid.
Yeah.
Racism, stupidity is more widespread than racism. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends, and he's a good friend, obviously right now, but like he's saying to me once, saying, "Now, I think black people are better at sprinting because they're more like animalistic." And I was like, I don't go saying that to anyone except me. And he wasn't saying it racist or anything like that. It's just to him, in his weird mind, he looks like a cheetah running past or something. Anything. So, but maybe that's more like, you know what I mean? And just didn't realise, didn't kind of compute how offensive that could have been. Just like, don't ever say anything like that again.
It's gonna be offensive to oversensitive people, but some, at different times people are gonna be more sensitive. But most people will probably see the silliness in it and wouldn't take it. Most sensible people wouldn't take it serious or offensive. They'd see the silliness and probably be embarrassed for him because he's embarrassed for saying something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Most of the time when people say those type of things to me, because I hear them things all the time, I never consider it being racist, because when I see the embarrassment from the person, I know they're not racist. They just made a slip up or whatever, or said something. You know what I mean? But like I said earlier, there's many people that have never said a racist slur or a racist word in their life that are 100% racist. There's many people who said many racial slurs, but they love all the black friends and family. So it doesn't excuse them for saying it, but I'm just saying at heart, they're not racist. They're just stupid, or don't understand.
We've always called it a polite racist, haven't we, Quint? When it says all the right words, but he's got hate in his heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a corporate boss or somebody, he's not going to say a racial slur, but he's going to do it with his decisions.
Go on, Josh.
I've got a question which I didn't really want to ask. other black people this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you not feel sorry for a lot of people that you know are fundamentally racist? Because it must. I know that when I've hated things in the past, it's really consumed me and it's made me feel horrendous. And for those people to see us and to see us doing well and doing better than we have in history, that must drive them insane. And it must be a horrible, horrible existence to see people and get angry every time you see them. And it actually makes me feel a bit sorry for people that are fundamentally racist.
Yeah,
100%. I pity people like that.
Yeah, I was going to say I pity him more because I think, like, exactly as you just said, like, I think imagine like you getting, because that must be their happiness in a way, because your happiness is derived from the hatred of other people, and it's like so
Yeah,
you get together, you get all your mates together, and you're like, right, party around mine, and we discuss how much we hate these people. It's like it's kind of, I
and
guess,
it's like they hate you without knowing why.
I guess
That's the point I pity the most.
it's not too far from like a football fan, is it? Like, I think we just like, just taking tribes to the next level. But like, say a football fan will like take pleasure in hating the opposite team, and I've known a lot of people that probably celebrate the opposite team losing more than they would their team winning.
100%.
So I guess it's like kind of like some sort of weird celebration of like.
Some people are fueled by the hate, though. So that's what fuels some people. And then people that are fueled by it usually don't get that far in life because that's what they're fueled by.
Yeah.
That's why I give them the most. They hate without realizing why they even hate.
People just hate. There's a really nice trail path around where I live, and people like to ride their bikes through it. Some people don't like that. And I know for a fact that people go and stick nails into tree roots to pop bike tires just because they don't like the fact that people are bike riding through these paths. People just hate. I think
because it gives them a mission, doesn't it? And I think that's what you need a lot of the time in life, don't you? You need a mission. You need a reason for existing. And when you're just in some corporate dead end job or something like that, you have no reason. So you mission get everyone together and hate on black people, or get everyone together and pop some bike tires, or I don't know. I think it's just
it gives a lot of them someone to feel better than as well.
Like, Aren,
when I
on
got
that
shit
note,
life, at least I'm better than these people, kind of thing.
Well, yeah. Aren, on that note, you know the saying that we said before that you were on about on the phone to me earlier.
The quote about actions.
Because I think that's so relevant now. I mean, if all your mission in life is to hate, is that the right path? So could you just add a quote you said to me earlier, please?
You put me on the spot here, Kev. It was a quote, and it was about to be the change basically that you want to be in the world effectively. So we've covered it in this podcast here, where people are just going back and forth, and I'm also of the belief that some people, you ain't going to change their mind. It's a bit like the football analogy. I'm a United fan through and through. You can tell me all the stuff in the world, I would never support Liverpool. And obviously this is more of a serious issue, and I think there's some people who are so fixated and have so much, whether it's ego or pride or they're patriotic or something, they're not going to change that. But all we can do is 5 of us, and hopefully that ripple effect that Josh was on about carries on, is just try and be that change. So when you see someone who's racist, if you're a passive person, okay, maybe just acknowledge it, like however you feel comfortable. Obviously, I'm not saying to people to put themselves in danger, but just be compassionate. It's like when somebody's racist to me now, I just smile and I can brush it off. I've 30 years, I'm a grown man. I got nothing to prove to nobody out there. It doesn't bother me. I'm my own man. That's okay. For younger people, the only like for my brother, for example, the only thing I can teach him is be the person that your kids will be proud of. So for us, let's not make 2 wrongs, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit here, but basically our actions, that's the key. That's what we should focus on. Being kind, being compassionate. Don't let the bad in other people bring us down as people as well, because we need to empower our generations as well. And one thing I'm grateful for, and we use it as a stereotype, but Asian people, we're always told to get our education. But I've learned so much listening to you guys here now about the economic value and stuff, and I'm like, shit. Indirectly, I was given some level of economic value. I can walk to a job application, and I did the same thing as you, Quint, where I wouldn't use the name Singh. I use the name Dew. And because my first name's Aaron, I've even been to interviews where they're like, "Oh, I never expected it to be you." And I'm like, "Surprise, motherfucker!" And like, I get the job kind of thing. You know what I mean? But it was one of those things, and it worked. Yeah, literally, yeah, one of those. So that's what I would encourage people is just be that change. I know it's hard because emotions are high. All of us, we can feel it. You guys probably a lot more than myself right this second. So just be the change. That was it, really.
And if you are that passive person who doesn't want to stand up to the racist, educate your children that is wrong.
Kev,
Yeah,
that is the
you don't
that
have
is
to do everything about.
no, go
Go on,
on.
Josh.
So I was about to say, come on.
That is ultimately the way that this problem is going to be solved. Expecting passive people to step up is completely unrealistic. And that's my big problem with a lot of the Black Lives Matter protesters, that not in the protest, but then on social media, a lot of people are saying, oh, if you're quiet, you're part of the problem. That isn't the case. You can't expect people to fight a fight that isn't theirs. It is theirs, but they've got their own fights to fight as well. I can't force my fight on you and expect you to fight it with me, but we can ask them to teach their children that it's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I was about to say, I wouldn't expect non-passive people. I wouldn't expect passive people to step up and do heroic things. I'm not saying that when I was saying about the paedophile situation, but still show some empathy rather than think it's not my problem. Have a bit of empathy for the problem instead. If you're not going to say nothing, if you're not going to say nothing to help the problem at all, don't try, to defend the problem or deny the problem exists. Is what I was, trying to get at with the paedophile situation. So, because like when I said, if I let you know I'm not a paedophile, but I just witnessed paedophilia and didn't know nothing about it, you're still gonna. That wasn't me suggesting people start being heroes and saving us in a race situation. What I was more getting at is I'm not racist, but it's not my problem. Attitude is more what I was getting at with that analogy. And the people that reached out to me, I knew weren't racist, but I didn't think they would give a fuck about it, and they did. So, I think we dropped a few people with it that way, but I can see how it can be confused for the other as well. So some people that's maybe on Facebook reading it, the mind, when you're reading words, it's all about how you're reading them as well. So,
well, that's why I wanted to get you guys on today, because when we are reading something, it's not whenever a text message, you can read it in 5-10 different ways. Is he joking? Is he taking the piss? Is he? But when we're actually talking here and we're all after the same goal, we've all had different experiences. But at the end of the day, we want, like my daughter who's now 4 coming 5, I want her to grow up in a different world, and I want her grandchildren to have an even better world. Whereas hopefully when they look back, they'll go, really? Really? This used to happen back then? And the only way that can happen is by teaching our children the right way. So if there is there any last quotes that anyone wants to say, or is there any quotes that have helped you get through this? Josh, if it's all right, I'll start with you.
Of course. I don't have any quotes that got me through this, but releasing my anger did, and realizing that showing, not telling, is the best way to move things forward. Black lives matter to Black people. We just need to show white people how much they matter by investing in ourselves. And I don't mean only buying from Black businesses. I mean teaching Black kids to be as economically valuable as white kids in our country and America.
Quinton, over to you, bruv.
Nothing particularly got me through, because to me this isn't like an isolated incident about George Floyd or this particular protest. It's a lifelong thing. Like we've all said before, like Aaron said, you get numb to it. Like Pete said, it's one of them things. Like you said yourself, like it's something that you just get used to dealing with. So when you are of color in certain demographics, you're going to deal with it more than others, and some will deal with it less, because obviously there's Black people also that believe racism don't exist because they're not experiencing it. So it's not just white people denying racism. There's successful Black people that forget they had any discrimination back in the day, and now they won't speak out on it because they feel like, like there's the one saying about them is the Black struggle doesn't end when your personal success starts. You know what I mean? So you get that. But the one thing that I want to let most people know that is out there trying to treat it as a competition or deny that it exists or it's not a problem for them is don't be jealous that you don't have a movement. Be grateful that you don't need a movement, because the reason we got a movement is because we need one. You don't need one because it's not happening to you. So, you know, as far as Lee Rigby and other things like that, the guys that killed him got punished, and people are still as upset on Facebook as they are today about this, even though those guys got punished and probably get punished every day in prison for what they did. And, you know, so, but the difference is the last 493 unarmed black men to be killed by cops haven't seen any justice. So that's 493 families, daughters, mothers that haven't seen any justice for what's going on. So when people are trying to compare it to things that are really not comparable, just remember, don't be jealous you don't have a movement. Be grateful you don't need one in this society. That's our close on that.
Pete, anything you've got to say?
What's got to bring me through to now? I don't know. People, because we are as good as we are bad. You know? So, I mean, as we can always dwell on like the one or two bad stories. I think that's instinctive for one. You know, people are instinctively drawn to bad news because of the way we're supposed to be drawn to danger, rather than, you know, the fruits of, you know, like they say, oh, you're supposed to recognise a lion over an apple tree because a lion will eat you and kill you. So bad news is ingrained in us. So I think, you know, one, we need to be open. We need to be open to education. If it's going to change at all, you need to make sure that people are willing to listen to someone else. I notice a lot with discussions, that people go up with a preconceived idea, and they not only that, they're unwilling to actually listen to you, and they're almost just trying to interrupt you and trying to just jump in and state what their side of the story is. It's like, it's not a competition. You know, something like Black Lives Matter isn't pick a side. It isn't all lives matter. It isn't white lives matter. It isn't black. You know what I mean? It isn't picking a side. We are all the same side. So be open to being educated by others, and make, you know, understanding from your friends, from the people that you know that are black, and listening to them and hearing their stories about how racism has massively impacted their life. Because I know it's massively impacted mine, and I just hope for the likes of my nieces and nephews and that they don't have to grow up with that, you know, that in the back of their mind. So yeah, I guess it's just be open to education, and, you know, from all angles, you can learn something off, you know, like a little kid on the street as well as a wise old man, whether they're white, black, brown, Asian, anything.
Yeah.
Well, lads, thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on today. We're going to finish now.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, so I always think, I think the only way that we're going to do this is by having these frank and honest conversations. So thank you for everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
So until we talk to everyone next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.